before we just started recording here, we were talking about Concord, and we were like, well, we should fucking start recording so that we can actually have this on the podcast and stuff.
Yeah, we should probably do an intro, though, before we...
Whatever. Hello, welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I'm Andrew. Over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Concord. The game that everyone... I don't understand.
I don't either. The big thing...
Yeah, you go ahead.
I'll let you start. I was going to say, like, I've seen gameplay of Concord, and a lot of people are like, it's not bad, it's a good game, and it's like, okay, sure, but it's $40 man. It's like, there are so many options, like, that are free on the market. Hell, that brand new Marvel one, which is basically the exact same concept, is coming out in the next couple weeks, and it's free!
Yeah.
For what reason does anybody have to drop $40 on Concord? It makes no sense!
Well, and here's the thing, to anyone that does pay like the $40 for Concord, it's like, how does Sony intend, or whatever the developers or whatever intend to keep making money on this thing? It's like bringing in new players every like month or something like that. That's a dream right there, I think, for any game.
I mean, they already said they're not going to have like a battle pass. I'm guessing they're just going to have like a lot of microtransactions.
I would assume so.
And they're just not telling people that.
That's what makes me think that it's just like, oh, they won't have a battle pass or whatever. So instead, when you pay your $40 or whatever, we'll also just have these microtransactions for skins and stuff like that. So that's how we will support the game going forward. Because it's like, even realistically, how many, like, let's say that a good amount of people buy Concord on release or whatever and actually enjoy it, and it's actually a pretty good game. Okay, let's say that. All right, okay, so you have those players. Now let's say in a few months or whatever, how in the fuck do you, like, okay, it's like, oh, our first push was good, but we want more. It's like, we need more players. How do we get more players? You put more stuff in there, and you just have to continually paying these devs for maintenance of the game, the updates and different seasons and everything like that. And you go, well, all that money we made on the first initial push is all gone now.
The issue is that they want to make this a live service. And in terms of the people that do buy it, like, sure, people are going to buy it after release, but that's going to taper off pretty quick. Like, in less than a year, like, there's going to be, like, double-digit sales, maybe even less for Concord. And... like, I can see maybe they're like, okay, we'll release like new characters for and make people pay for them, I guess, or we'll release new skins and make people pay for them. That's only going to do so much. Like, the reason people release these free games with battle passes is because that works, and that's an effective source of income.
Well, it's also I feel like, as well as when it comes to like, especially like games like this, like a hero shooter or even like a fighter game or something like that, it's like, what reason do I have to play other than my desire to get better at the game? It's like, am I working towards something or whatever? It's like, if there is like, oh, there's like this cool skin in the battle pass or whatever, even if it's or whatever, it's like, oh, I could just play that. I'll get better as I'm playing, and then I'll also get this cool skin I want or whatever. I can just get cosmetics that I think are interesting and in a nutshell in a game I'm already enjoying playing. It's an extra incentive to kind of play or whatever. I'm not saying every game needs a battle pass or whatever, but like,
when you look at a game like Concord, it almost requires a battle pass. The reason I say that is because it's like, unlike games like Halo or Call of Duty, Concord is a hero shooter. It really can't have that same sort of like progression that other games have. You can't customize your weapons. You can't do all this other shit that you can in other games. Yeah. So it's like, when you think about what you're progressing towards, like, what are you progressing towards? Like, even when you look at like Dead by Daylight, like, when you upgrade characters, you're getting better and better perks. In Concord, you're just not going to have that. It's like a battle pass would just help so much fulfill that sense of progression that people would have.
It's my number one thing when it comes to like fighting games or just like like I said, like these hero shooters ones or whatever. The ones that are just like, you just play just for the sake of playing it or whatever. And it's like, you can find it fun, and that's good enough reason for a lot of people to play games. But at the same time, it's like, for some people, they want that little extra extra reason to kind of play or whatever. And if it's like, oh, I get this little extra reward for playing a little bit more, sure, go for it. It's what I've always struggled with when it comes to it. It's like when I started playing like For Honor and stuff like that, they didn't have a battle pass. They do now, but they didn't have a battle pass. But like you get like dailies or whatever to get like steel, so that way you could like buy new looks on it, or you could save up for hero, or you could save up for like a new class or whatever. And that was, I thought, worth it in a nutshell. So it's like, but if Concord's gonna have none of those things, I don't see why people will continue to play.
And I've seen some people be like, "Oh, but I thought everyone didn't like battle passes. Like, why is it a bad thing that it's going to be a buy once and you never have to pay for it again?" Because Sony wants to be able to support this in the long term. They themselves have described it as a live service, so they need to keep making money on this, and that's what battle passes are for.
It will get shut down if it does not make money.
Yeah. I agree with some people when they say like they think it'll be shut down in a year, maybe less.
I gave it 6 months to go free to play.
Yeah, that's, and I think that's my big issue with Concord right now. Like if it was coming out and it was free to play, it'd be like, sure, hell yeah, it looks fun. I'll play it for free. Why not? The fact that there's a $40 barrier to entry, it's like, dog. It's like, and there are some people like, well, it's, there's Helldivers. They charge $40 for that game. Helldivers is a game in and of itself. There's nothing quite like Helldivers on the market.
They
can charge $40. When you look at Concord, it's like, oh, it's $40. Why don't I just download Overwatch? It's bigger, more well established, and it's free. What reason do I have to drop $40 on this game? Why not play Marvel Rivals or one of the dozens of other games that's exactly like this one, but doesn't cost anything?
Well, I remember seeing like the trailer for this, like when they during like the state of play or whatever, not that long ago, and I just went, I don't see anything that would convince me to even try this. Like, I didn't even know there was a fucking beta like a week ago or something like that. Just did not know anything about it. Apparently nobody played it, pretty much. Like the numbers were abysmal.
Like all-time player count, I think peaked at like just over 1,000 people.
God damn. It's like at first it was it was closed beta or whatever for people who had already pre-purchased the game, which I'm just like, man. It's like, and that was abysmal. And then they opened it up to an open beta, and it was still abysmal. And I went, does that not show everyone's I don't know, like interest in a game like this? I feel like if this game had come out before like Overwatch 2 came out, I think this would be all right. I think people would be all about this game. But
I mean, if it was like 2016, it'd be like,
it'd be you'd fly off. Like people wouldn't get enough of it. But it's like you're 8 years too late, man.
The world has moved on.
This is what it's always just like, I get that, like, oh, it's like maybe they started working on Concord a while ago or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. But like, it's
I'm not sure that's true either.
Again, I'm just saying I don't know, but like we're playing hypotheticals here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? But here's the thing. If you've been playing games within the past like 2-3 years, you kind of realize that everyone's kind of moved on from the hero shooters or whatever. It's like,
yeah, yes, they have.
This is kind of like, it was a fad that kind of came out. Overwatch was like a thing that kickstarted back in 2016, and then it was just like, no, we don't care anymore. It's like there was the Battle Royale phase in there as well, and just like, fuck, I don't even know what the phase is currently, but who knows? Co-op games? I don't know.
I think it's just basically companies trying to make live service games and none of them succeeding.
But what are
I can't really describe that as a fad, though.
But I always say it was like, what are players playing these days? And I look at games like Among Us still, or it's like stuff like that, where it's just kind of like cool, like fun games you kind of play with your friends. That's why I call them like co-op games in a way.
I suppose, yeah, when you also look at like Lethal Company and stuff, those are still pretty big right now.
It's like Lethal Company, like stuff that's like, not so much like PvP focused, but like you're kind of playing together to achieve something, like or just to have fun, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just kind of feels like there is like no general fad of what games are nowadays. It's like there are, but there aren't at the same time.
Yeah, and Concord is trying to.
Concord's just trying to go back 8 years and trying to capitalize on something that didn't there. It's like, look, maybe the game will be good. Maybe people will like actually play it and enjoy it. I don't know, but from everything I've seen and from where gaming's kind of gone from there, just as a gamer myself, I just don't see this working out.
Here's my whole thing. It's like, I've heard the game is good. I've heard like reviewers say, oh yeah, the gameplay is solid, the characters are cool, it has neat abilities, and that's all well and good. It's $40 fucking, man. Like, I get I'm harping on about this a lot, and I get a lot of people are going to be like, oh, $40 isn't that much. We live in we exist in a market where people expect games like this to be free.
Yeah,
like
it's come down to the point where in the market that games like this are just free, and anything like that's not free is like insta fail or will turn into a free to play.
Basically, I get maybe they some people are like, well, that's not fair. Well, that's just what the market is. I don't get to decide that, but if you when there are games that are just as good, if not better than Concord out there, and they're giving them away for free, if you expect anybody, and I mean anybody, to drop a fucking price money down to the game price like $40, $60, $70, absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. There are too many alternatives out there.
Quick question that you may or may not know the answer to: is this game going to be on like the PlayStation like Plus like Essentials thing or whatever?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because I would have said like, oh, maybe this is like a push to, if people wanted to play it, to get on the Essentials or whatever.
I think you got into the closed beta if you were part of the Essentials program, and you didn't have to
thought that was
the
just
game.
If you pre-ordered the game.
I think they also. I think they also gave it out to Essentials members because they couldn't fill out like player lobbies.
That wouldn't surprise me.
It was a whole thing. So I think you got into the beta. I don't think it's going to be part of the actual Essentials program, though. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I was curious because I was just like, it popped into my head, and I was just like, I wonder if this is going to be in there or not. As far as I can tell, no. It's probably it does. If it is, it's not there or hasn't been announced or anything.
In either case, like Sony wants this to do well, not just on PlayStation but PC. They have this whole PC push going on, and if they want to launch like a successful live service, they need it to do well in both places, especially if they're not going to have any battle pass of any sort. So like even if they did like give it away on Essentials, it's like, how are they going to make any money on this then? So my prediction is what you were saying earlier. In 6 months, it's going to go free to play. They're going to introduce battle passes, and they're going to be walking back a bunch of shit they've been talking.
Well, and it's like, here's the thing is that if you go free to play, you have to compensate the players that paid the $40 for this, and how do you do so? That's the number one thing whenever it comes to this or whatever. It's like, how do you compensate the players that already paid for this?
Here's what they're going to do. I agree, this is terrible. In-game currency and skins.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That's all they're going to do.
One of my, I've talked about this game before in the past, but one of my favorite games when I was in college that was coming out, or at least was in early access, was Battle Right. Battle Right in beta form was $20 to get into the beta or whatever, and like you could just play the game. It was like you bought it and you got into the beta or whatever, and you would have access to all the heroes. Now, eventually, Battle Right had plans to go free to play, which they eventually did, but you couldn't get all of the but you have to like buy the champions as they came out rather than having them just for free. If you paid the $20 during beta, you instantly got all the champions on all future champions for free. It's just like, I think if Concord was doing something like that, like if it was just like, oh, the first year we're gonna like that, and then everyone that paid for whatever is gonna get like the new characters or whatever as they came out.
How many well, two things. What if the people in question, let's say they do charge for characters. Let's say, and I mean that could be. I'll discuss that in a minute. But what if those people already bought those characters, or B, like how many characters are they realistically going to release in that time?
I don't know.
Because if this is going to go free to play in like 6 months, they're going to have like maybe 1-2 new characters.
Oh yeah, I know. Trust me, nothing is going to go. Nothing. It won't. No matter what they give, it's probably like.
Yeah.
It's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be enough.
So it's like they're going to go free to play, and it's like, oh hey, thanks for buying our $40 game. Here's a character that we charged $8 for, and like $5 worth of end game currency.
Ah, sucker.
And it's like the whole idea of them charging for characters too. I'm not sure if they're gonna do that, because don't you think they'd get shit for being like, what if it's absolutely. A really good character? What if it's a really good character? Then everyone's gonna be like, well, it's pay to win now.
Exactly, and it's like, oh, you're gonna make me pay more for a character than when you already charged me $40.
Mm-hmm.
That won't sit well in people's. It won't sit well.
No. I just don't understand.
I just feel like there's just multiple missteps by a lot of very poor decision making from this game.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think we kind of get into it, and we got off on a bit of a tangent, but you were talking about like, oh, it's like battle passes inherently aren't a bad thing or whatever, and it's just like, especially if there are free and like the premium versions or whatever, where you have to like pay a little extra money for, more benefits, or maybe like you get like more experience toward the battle pass or whatever. I've seen that before as well. And it's like, I've always hear people complain about like, it's just like, oh, well, if I buy the battle pass, I'm gonna feel the need to finish it or whatever. And it's like, that's up to you. Like, it really is.
And it's like, let's put it this way: if Sony really wanted to avoid that, why not just take the Halo Infinite route and just say, oh yeah, the battle passes are on there, and they're on there forever. You can do them whenever you want.
They're on there until you finish them. Until you finish them. I don't know why it is that's just not a thing for every game that requires a battle pass.
Well, I can see why. Because they want to encourage people to play more. Yeah,
I get that, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to just not to do that.
No, it sucks. I completely agree. And like, I hate how basically every game that exists nowadays basically just wants you to put all your attention on that game, when games are coming out all the time that wants to turn your gaming habit into a job, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
It fucking blows. But that's the idea behind it. You're spending more time in our game, filling up our player lobbies, and spending money on our skins as opposed to someone else.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, and that's why this quote comes here. It's like, oh, you own Concord, Concord doesn't own you. And I sit here going just like, I get that feeling. I get why people say that. But at the same time, it's like, especially if you didn't pay anything for the battle pass,
yeah,
what do you care? Are people like that much like ADHD, like completionists, like they have to finish it? I don't know.
The reason I don't get that whole mindset of, you own Concord, it doesn't own you. The problem is it's not like a single player game. Yeah. It's something that will inevitably, eventually. I don't like this either. When it goes offline and it gets taken down, it's gone. It's gone forever. You don't own Concord. That is going to shut down someday, and you will never be able to access that game again.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, whether it's $40 or free to play, it doesn't matter. You don't own that game. No matter how much you want to claim to.
I also just like how it's like they're trying to take like the, I don't know, like social media stance or PR thing. It's just like, oh, we've realized that you want to play other games or whatever. So, just come, play maybe like a game or two of Concord, and then you can just set it down or whatever. We don't really care how much you play or whatever. And it's like, that's clearly just a lie. We know you want them to play it, and you want them to spend money or whatever, I guess, if it is.
Then why are you charging $40 for it?
Exactly.
Like, people are going to want to dump tons of time into it because they want to get their money's worth.
Exactly. Where if it's free to play, it's like, oh, well, now it was like, I just tried it or whatever, and it was like, I mean, it was okay or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to do it or whatever.
I mean, that's where I would be at. It's like, if it was free to play, sure, I'll download it. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I played X Defiant, and I had no interest in that game.
My brother's been playing the first Descendant.
Yeah,
and he's actually not having that. He actually is quite enjoying it, despite it. But it's one of those games that he would absolutely get into and love.
I heard that's the one that's trying to be like Warframe, right?
It's like a mix of Warframe meets like Destiny in a way. It's like they take elements from both types of games.
I've heard quite a few good things about that. Is that one free to play or?
It is free to play on Steam right now or whatever.
Okay.
I just remember like a while back, there was a Diablo 4. Like he does a lot. Like my brother watches. I forget the YouTuber's name, but he basically just does like a bunch of just like grindy hack and slash like looter games, and just makes content off of that. Like Diablo 4 was one of his big ones when it came out, so he was watching that all the time for like, oh, what's the big build or whatever for this character, and so he said that. I remember he said after like the NDA was up for that, he posted out a video saying it's just like he got a chance to play like an early build of First Descendant and did not like it whatsoever, and I feel like that swayed a lot of people. And I'm not saying it's perfect or anything like that. I mean, but from what he tells me about it, it's like it doesn't seem like that bad of a game. The reviews I think are sitting at about around a 50% right now.
I mean, from what I've heard, like I'll say this right now. It's hard to compete with a game like Warframe.
Oh, absolutely.
That one's been around. That's been a live service since I was in high school. A lot of people are just attached to that game. So, I feel the pain of the developers basically. But it's like, they're not charging you anything. You can get into the game and just try it if you want to. And from what I can tell, it's doing better than Concord has.
I think it also comes to that thing whenever it comes to like especially grindy games, especially like free to play grindy games like First Descendant is that it is a grindy as hell game. Like my brother explained just like generally how you unlock characters, how you unlock guns, or like the components to make guns and stuff like that. It can be a bit of a grind. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But it's like, oh, they want you to spend a bunch of time. They want you to spend, and there's like, and you're either here for it or you are not about it. And I think that's the thing. That is the big,
like turn off for some people.
Yeah, turn off. It's just like if you want to speed up the process, put some money into it or whatever. And it's like, well, no shit, they made the game like that because they made it free to play. It's what can I say? Oh, but my brother was telling me is like literally everything minus skins is farmable with in-game currency. Now, how long you want to spend depends on if you want to sink money into it or not.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair for a game that's free. So I just think it's just like, oh, people are just like, hey, I want to get all the best characters and all the best guns or whatever, but I don't want to spend fucking hundreds of hours to do it or whatever. And it's like, well, I kind of get that, but you don't have to do it. It doesn't have dailies or anything like that. You grind on your own time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like I feel like that stigma because he's a big YouTuber. I can never remember his name. It's like I think it's Moxie. I think is the YouTuber's name, and he just did not have many good things to say about it. And I know when it first came out, like PC Gamer, IGN, Kotaku didn't really give it the best raving reviews of all times. So that tends to sway some people.
I guess so. I'm still very much in the vein of, at least they're not, making you pay for this shit. So it's not like a scam. It's just like maybe...
No. It's just
not
like
as good as some alternative.
It hits. It really wants. It only hits certain players. It is like certain players are here for the grind. They like to just kind of sit on Discord, talk to friends while you're just like, grinding away at it or whatever. Or or you're just like, I don't want to sit here and do this. You know, it's just what it is.
And both are fair, honestly.
Yeah. It's like if you're not about it, you don't have to play it. It's the wonderful thing about gaming these days. You don't like a game, don't play it. There's plenty of other games.
That just brings us back to Concord, though, and I really don't see what the big Sony thinks the big pull for that game is going to be. I guess like
is it supposed to be like? Are they trying to hit on like, oh, it's going to have like story and story elements, and like you're actually going to care about these characters or whatever? And it's like we're going to do what Overwatch 2 didn't do and have like a solo adventures. And I'm like, well, you didn't. As far as I can tell, that's not happening. You're just trying to build like a story with this, but I'm pretty sure there's no solo operations. It's all PvP. It's just they're going to have like little cinematics in the middle of it.
There's no PvE stuff, and from what I can tell, they say they want to have like 90-second or like 2-minute cutscenes happen every single week.
Nobody will care.
That's the thing. Like, that doesn't matter. And taking as many resources as that's going to take, like away from like other development of like other features, like new characters, new game modes, new guns, like people aren't going to give a fuck.
People aren't going to give a flying fuck about the cinematics. Like, I guarantee you, like, at least, like, 70% of the players that play the game won't care about the cinematics, if not more.
And here's where I'm at. It's like, oh, this, this game still has story, has cutscenes and stuff. That's okay. It's a game that has a story. Why am I not playing the story? Why am I watching,
why is this not just like a co-op single player game then?
Well, and it's like, if I want to watch the story, great. People are going to upload all of those to YouTube. I'll just watch them that way.
Like I feel like Concord is going to have about the same reaction as like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League had, where it's just like, I mean, it's interesting, but it's like, why is it not just like a single player like co-op game or something like that, where you like somebody could be playing as Harley Quinn, somebody could be playing as King Shark or any of the other two, and I'm just like, yeah, why is it not just that? Oh, wait, because they want you to spend time in it. But they tell you that they don't want you to spend time in it.
It's a PvP hero shooter, man. It's like, here's what I don't get at all. So Sony has, at one point, was going to launch like something crazy like 16 to 18 live service games in the span of 2 years. That's just not feasible, even for like the common player. It's like, you're going to have all these live service. How the fuck are people going to spend time in any of them, basically? But then, let's really think about this. They said, oh, they're cutting it down. Cool. They're still releasing like 6 to 8 live services in the next 2 years.
So, you know what? Just real fast. This is a random tangent I have or whatever. But okay. I was listening to this week's like Play, Watch, Listen or whatever. If you don't listen to Play, Watch, Listen, do so. They're really insightful people or whatever with like Alana and Mike and Austin. Yeah. But I think perfectly and accurately sums up, because like Mike Bithell talked about how it's like the gaming scene in and of itself is that what you're seeing is that a lot of AAA studios are moving from like, rather than putting all their money into one game and hoping that game pans out, what they're doing is they're putting a bunch of like a little bit of money in like 1,000 different projects and hoping one sticks. Because even if like say you put out 16 live service games or whatever, as long as one sticks, you can kill all the rest and put all your apples into that one that sticks, and then you just make money off of that. Because in the end, if you make $3 million on your $1 million investment of this small game, then you can just go all in on the game that succeeded and kill the rest of them. If that's seriously what Sony's like attempting to do here, because this is not the first example of this too. Like you look at a lot of like just like mobile games and stuff like that, like free to play games, you'll see like just pop up here or there, everything like the small indie games that are like so similar to other games or whatever. It's just like, and it's like which one sticks, and then the one that doesn't stick or whatever. It's like what was it? The makers of Genshin or whatever. It's like that was kind of what they did with like Honk Star Rail and stuff like that. It's like, oh, they just like basically re-released the same game but slightly different.
and it worked.
And it worked. Exactly. But it's like, I can't tell you, like Alana was even talking about how it's like, oh, this is happening in like Japanese markets, or maybe it's Chinese markets or something like that, where it's just like this one publisher is just having and like basically copying and pasting like to the same code over and over and over again, but like slightly redoing it and then just putting it out, and whatever one sticks, they go with that and kill the rest.
It's China. Like the mobile market is so big over in China.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I went, Jesus, man, is that seriously happening? That's fucking stupid.
Basically, dude. The reason that scares me when it comes to Sony then is what's going to happen to all those other teams that make those failed games or whatever.
Exactly.
They're just going to be fucked.
They're either going to just end up getting laid off, or they'll be put into the bigger project.
Even then, it's like, it sucks because most of the time, it's not like they're making bad games. From what I hear, like, Concord is a pretty well, like, put-together project. It's just being set up to fail.
Yeah. It's like, it's how I view most of the time. It's not that necessarily that the game functions bad or is poorly designed or anything like that. It's just not entertaining or interesting to play. And I feel like that's what Concord's kind of falling into. I don't know.
I'm just scared for what's going to happen to the studios. What if they're really taking this whole let's throw shit at the wall and see what sticks approach?
Dude,
because I'm just not cool with that at all.
No, when Mike said that, I said to myself, and I was just like, what the? I was like, dude, it's so fucking true, and I just never realized it. Like, that's fucking scary. Capitalism, am I right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just like, I don't want... It's like, it all comes down to, it's just like, man, it really comes down to, it's like, when you see, like, a developer do that, or anything like that, or even a publisher just, like, basically just put out all these, like, bad shit, crazy games that are all just, like, so similar to one another, and you just go, like, oh, it all worked, and I go, don't let it work, please. Like, let them fail on every $1 million project, please. It's like there are so many games that come out these days that are so like effing creative that are led up by just a few people or whatever that just wanted to make a passion project or anything like that, or just like even like AAA games that you can feel actually have like joy and passion behind them, or like a really cool and creative concept.
Conversation basically is creative people should be allowed to keep their jobs. And the fact that publishers get away with screwing them over as often as they do pisses me off.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, if for whatever, if like all of a sudden, like, and this is why I always say it's like promote publishers that will promote like creativity and stuff like that. It's like why I talk about like, oh, Devolver or whatever. Devolver literally just like basically says like, hey, you have this indie game we think is actually really cool. Do what you will with it. We ain't gonna interfere. We're gonna do something funny, cool, and interesting with it, and like to market it, and you just do your thing. It's like that's why I will always talk up Devolver games or whatever. It's like, what was the game that there was a game they have coming out. I mean, I think it's fairly soon.
That's why I think in a few years we're going to be talking up Donkey constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
I think what he's doing in the games industry is universally good.
The game. Have you ever heard the game The Plucky Squire?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a Devolver game that I remember seeing, and it's just like it reminded me so much of like, I don't know, kind of like Cuphead, like inspired in a way, because it's like it's very artistically like, and I think they said they drew almost every frame in the game or whatever. Then they have like 3D elements where you like go out of the book or something like that, and you like you're fighting on like a cup or like, and it's just like it's like really cool. It's really cool, really quirky looking. And it's like, hell yeah. It's like, apparently they have plans to release... I'm looking at the Steam page. It says, planned release date of 2024. I haven't heard anything about that game so far this year, so... We'll see if that happens.
It's still coming, yeah.
So, but it's like... But you even look... I look at, like, every game freaking Devolver's put out or whatever. It's like, all these games, I think, are to have, like, so much... either so much fun or, like, so creative behind them. It's like... It's like, I mean, like Loop Hero, Enter the Gungeon. Oh my god, I could talk forever about like Enter the Gungeon. It's one of my favorite games that I absolutely suck at, but man, was it really fucking fun to just like experience that game. Have you ever played that game, by the way? Have you ever played Enter the Gungeon?
No, I've always wanted to. I've never sat down and actually tried it though.
It's so good. It's a difficult game, but it's really good. If you get good at it, like I used to watch my friend stream it a lot, and he was so good at the game, and he would like constantly get to the end. He would be fighting like they put out like I think it was a couple of years ago they put out like the last expansion for it or whatever, where like you can do it's fucking dude. The final boss is you fight the rat that steals your stuff if you leave a room with like stuff still in the room. Mm-hmm. You fight the rat and it's Punch-Out style. You have to it's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And that's how you fight. The gun literally is a top-down like shooter like roguelike game, and all of a sudden it becomes Punch-Out. Like what? Oh, that was so funny to watch.
One of its first reviews on Steam. You can pet the dog.
Oh, you can pet that dog.
Can you?
Oh yeah, you can absolutely pet that dog. It's like they even have like a game called Angry Foot.
Angry
Foot that came. I think is it out now? Yeah, it's out now.
I really want to buy this game. Actually, it looks super good.
It's just so funny.
Have you seen gameplay of it?
Yeah. So fucking funny.
I know. I need to have it.
Oh man.
But it's I fucking always wanted to try Loop Hero.
Oh, Loop Hero is so fun.
It looks so interesting.
It's so fun and so addictive.
Oh no, that's a dangerous combo.
Well, it's not like addictive bad, but it's like you're just like when you fail, you're just like, fuck, I got to do it again. I got to go for another run. And it's like I can do it. I can do it this time. I swear. Or even like Cult of the Lamb is like really cool and really fun. That's one I've probably seen the least of, but it's like it's just a weird game. It's very funny to look at.
I've heard nothing. Like you see, that's the one that I've heard about probably the most is Cult of the Lamb. I hear about that one all the time.
I believe it. It's like, I mean, hell, even go back to their one of their like classic ones is like Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
It's like everyone talks about. It's like, when is another Hotline Miami game coming out? And they're like, I don't know, when is Hotline Miami 3 coming out? And I go, I don't know, whenever we fucking feel like it.
Probably never, honestly. I don't see Hotline Miami 2 getting a sequel.
Exactly, and that's why I sit here going, just like they could just like say, hey, you know, you made Hotline Miami 2 or whatever, and everyone loves that. Just keep making that or whatever. And rather than burning out the developer on that, they're like, well, we kind of had this other project we had in mind or whatever, and it's just like this silly little like I don't know, like stupid game or whatever, and it's like we love it. It is like, oh, okay, you want us to make it? All right, we'll make it then. Cool. Need more developers need more publishers like that, where it's just like, oh, you know, you could just keep making this same game over and over and over a billion times over, but it'll lose its charm if you do that. So just make what you want to make.
Wait a minute, no way. This has to be like, oh yeah, this is the developer digital page. I want to know what. No, not the. I want to know what the developers for Hotline Miami 2 are up to. No. Son of a bitch. I quit redirecting me to the developer page. God damn it, Steam.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, I'm just going to look this up on Google because Steam's being stupid.
Also, I'm curious of like what Dodge Roll's been working on since Enter the Gungeon, because that's like their only games they've made.
I didn't see any other games from them when I looked them up, but Steam's being stupid today, so I can't really tell.
I mean, the only two games I see from them is Enter the Gungeon and Exit the Gungeon. Like, it's like, as much as I would love like an Enter the Gungeon 2 or like a Return to the Gungeon or something like that. I mean, if they want to make it, sure, but I'm not gonna like, beg for it.
Last game that they Hotline Miami devs made was Hotline Miami 2 in 2017. And apparently their next game is still coming. I don't know about that. It's been nearly 10 years, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. But it's just like, it's like I talk up Devolver all the time, but it's like they have some really good games though, and really fun stuff that they do with it. So I will always talk up Devolver and other such things. It's like how it's like even you talked about it's like with like Donkey or whatever with Big Mode or whatever. It's like, I mean, you even look at like their first game that they published, like Animal Well. It's like, it's exactly
one of the best games of the year.
It's what exactly he wanted to do with it as well. It's just like bring have like these indie devs come to him. It's like, hey, I have this really cool idea for a game or whatever, and he took one look at it, probably played like a little, maybe like played like the early version of the game and was like, hell yeah, let's fucking do it. And it's like I expect to see like, maybe not like, it's just like, but just like a bunch of games that are all just like, you can tell just have a lot of passion behind them, and that's really what I expect from that, and it's clearly what Donkey wants from that. You even got like Supergiant out here still making Hades 2 or whatever. No one asked for Hades 2. We all memed about Hades 2. We didn't think it was gonna happen.
Hey, we actually got it though. So
exactly.
Cool.
We got it, and it's fucking amazing.
I really hope they don't just make Hades 3 and they do something else for the next game though.
Well, I mean, they had ideas for like doing like I don't know if it was like expansion DLC for Hades, and then they just said, okay, this is getting too big, and so I think that's particularly why Hades 2 happened.
That's probably why it happened, yeah.
So I remember like I think I remember reading like an interview from like a couple of the devs or whatever from Supergiant or whatever, and they talked about how it's just like, oh, they were like, they loved working on Hades and like talked about like things that they wanted to do. They thought about releasing their first like expansion pass ever for one of their games, and then they just said it just got so big we just had to throw it into another game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm all about that. But whatever they want to do after that is A-okay with me.
Kind of a tangent. What the hell is going on in the Overwatch community right now?
What is? I don't even know.
I'm just wondering why it's sitting at overwhelmingly negative. Like the one positive review I can see of it. This community is so nice and helpful. I got a lot of tips on how to uninstall the game and kill myself.
I mean, they're probably just like toxic as hell. If I had to guess,
all these games basically are.
Well, it's just like, I feel like when it comes to like these like big multiplayer games or whatever, it's like I feel like it started with like League basically. I know that wasn't technically the first like big multiplayer game or whatever, but it was like one of the first games where it was just like, man, I don't know, it's just like,
this sucks, and they've been slowly bleeding into other games, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, but like, it's just like I remember when I started playing League back in like fucking how old was that? I mean, it had been over a decade at this point. Probably been like 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even before that. Was I still in high school when I first tried it? I think it was when I first tried it, but I didn't start playing it with like consistency until like college, because that's when I had like friends who I played with. But it was just like I might have played back in like what it was like 2008. I want to say it was like 2010 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
2010, 2011. It's whenever like season 2 was out or something. Sounds right. Either way, it was just like that. There were times the game started out and people loved it because of just like, it wasn't so much like, let's win all the time, let's get get sweaty in normal games or whatever and just stomp on some guy that's also trying to like either learn a character or have fun or whatever. And it's like, It's just like, no, it's just like you fucked around, you had fun or whatever. It's like, you died or whatever, or you just did some funny things or whatever. One of my still like a couple of my favorite one of my favorite old League of Legends content creators was Spazzy, now renamed to Spoozy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, he was good at the game, and he got serious when he was playing ranked or whatever. But there was like times when he was just playing with his friends where he was just like, we're just gonna fuck around and do some fun stuff or whatever. And that was like some of the best YouTube videos that he had or whatever. Or it was just like him fucking around or whatever. He was like, we're gonna make the fastest Rammus ball and just zoom into the enemy base and. So he picked Rammus for his character, and then his friends picked all of the characters that had speed buffs or like a grant speed buffs to that player. So he's just like charging up, and he'd go into ball mode or whatever, and it's just like, and then vroom, and then how fast can he get across the map or whatever, and it's just like, damn. Turns out you can go pretty fucking fast. Those are what I always remember and will always stick in my head for as long as I live or whatever. It's like I always go back to like his like old like stream derps or epic moments or whatever like that, where it's just like he's just having fun. Like it's really all it is. It's like of course like but like at some point the game like just like turned from let's just have fun to no, it's like, and I think it was like the rise of esports or whatever, and I think we've talked about it before, how like esports have kind of killed fun in some games. Yeah, like those types of games or whatever. It's like you can't have fun in Valorant anymore. You can't have fun in League anymore. You can't do like silly goofy stuff, even if you're playing in fucking normal mode where it doesn't fucking matter. It's just like I don't know. But it's like I feel like it's just like generally people just kind of lately have just been forgot how to have fun or have been so pessimistic when it comes to games or whatever. I have a good example of this actually, funny enough, that's outside of what I already said. But it's like I was like I still play Hearthstone pretty regularly or whatever, and they just had their new expansion come out, and it's okay. As the little bit I played, like there are some pretty interesting cards and stuff like that. But the thing that mainly got people so pessimistic about the game is that usually when Hearthstone puts out an expansion, this is the first time that they didn't put like a new board or whatever, where it's just like every time when you play a game or whatever, there's a chance that you get like the new board or whatever. It's like getting the new outlooks or whatever, and you can kind of click on it, and it's just like stuff to do while your opponent's taking their turn. In a way, they didn't have that, and there was no new cinematic for the new expansion, and people were livid.
That's weird for a card game.
It's just like I said, they're going just like, but the cards are interesting. You look at these cards, and I'm like, some of these are like meta-defining cards at some point, and can change and can like flip classes on the dime, or whatever. One of the new mechanics of the game is they're called tourist cards, because the whole idea is that the heroes are going on vacation or whatever, so they're touring in a new class. So
that's fun.
Yeah, so what you can do is that when you put these tourist cards in your deck, you can play the cards from the newest expansion from that class that it says that is. So it's like my favorite class in the game is Shaman, and if you play the Shaman tourist that is actually a Demon Hunter tourist, you can play the Demon Hunter cards from that expansion into that deck. And people are so upset by that mechanic or whatever. It's like, they're just dual class cards at that point. And I go, but they're blocks behind a legendary. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need to play that. And also, it's just like people are just so upset over like, you need a legendary to play all these cards or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if like, I get that not a lot of people that are playing the game today probably played when the game first came out back in 2014. Because I did. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
When the game came out 10 years ago or whatever, you were lucky to open a pack or get more than 40 gold in a day. You got 10 gold every 3 wins, up to a max of 100 gold per day, and then on top of your one daily quest, which was worth anywhere between 40 to 60 gold, or whatever. So that way, every like 2 days you could buy a pack, or whatever. Pretty much, it was so hard to like build up a collection of cards when it was free to, when it was like if you were just a free to play player like I was at the start. Yeah. Now they fucking hand you legendaries. They hand you packs. They give you gold. Like we talked earlier about the battle pass or whatever. The battle pass was the best move Hearthstone has ever made when it comes to progression and allowing people to play as much as they want and build a collection as fast as they want. When it comes to that, awesome. You get so much more gold from like every one level gives you like 50 gold or whatever. And like I just outlined, you'd be lucky to get 50 gold in a day. in old Hearthstone. So I sat there going just like people want to complain about how I don't have this 1600 dust legendary to get to play this tour so I can play the other cards for this deck or whatever. And I sat there going, motherfucker, it took me fucking 3 years to get every card in the core set, like the classic set, and that's also with keeping up with expansions and everything like that. It took a fucking while. So don't come complaining to me that you can't make one legendary. And the core set is more encompassing than it ever has been in the past. Like the core set is the set that stays in standard and doesn't rotate out whenever new expansions. They add and they take out cards from the core set as they see fit or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like people are so pessimistic about it. It's just like, oh, there's no new cinematic, no new thing or whatever. It's like Blizzard only puts out microtransaction. The 10th anniversary of Hearthstone feels like more of a death send off or whatever. And I sat there going, just what the fuck? And I'm like,
motherfuckers have never played Dead by Daylight.
I was like, I get that everyone was like was hoping for something cool and exciting to happen for the 10-year anniversary of Hearthstone. But I sit there going just like, we got a card that's literally there is a 6-mana 5/5 legendary that says Battle Cry. Your hand becomes an iconic an iconic hand from Hearthstone's history, which is you have the best hand. Your hand becomes the best hand from an iconic hand of Hearthstone, which is iconically some of the best decks to ever exist in the entirety of the game. How is that not a big celebration? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I just don't get it. It's like, I get it's not anything big or whatever. It's like, oh, Blizzard's... It's like, trust me, I bet you the devs want to do more with it, but...
like when, I think it was the 4th anniversary for Dead by Daylight when they brought the Dredge into the game. Everyone was complaining because it was an original character as opposed to a licensed one. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And that's also when the Garden of Joy dropped and everyone was just complaining and talking shit about it. Same thing with the Singularity, too, next year. Yeah. But...
I just don't understand it. It's like, do I think
people are just pessimistic as hell about these games that they spend thousands of hours in, man. It makes no fucking sense.
It's my favorite quote from like, no one loves to hate the thing you love more than the people who absolutely love the thing that they hate.
Oh yeah. It's like you're complaining about this thing constantly, yet you're playing it. Like
and yet you play it every day, and you put so much time, effort, and money into it, or whatever. And I said they're going just like, Jesus Christ, man. I just, I'm at a loss. It's just like it. It's like every so often I would go onto like the Hearthstone subreddit or whatever, and people would like kind of complain. I don't know. I brushed it aside. It's like if there's criticism to be had or whatever, and it's constructive criticism. Like, sure, I'll listen to it. Like, there's some times where it's like, oh, definitely, like there, not that long ago, like, there was, like, a deck that was so dominant, that was so unbelievably dominant and difficult to play against. It was, like, Ramp Druid. And it was just like, oh, the Ramp Druid...
this before, yeah.
The Ramp Druid just dominated everything. It was like everyone was playing it. It crushed everything it played against, basically. And it's just like they removed one card, but it took them like a week or whatever to like, because I think what they were originally were thinking was like, this card is the problematic card. This is the card that makes the whole deck go burr, basically. It's like, if we change this, how do we change it so that way it's still kind of playable, but like not nearly as good type thing. And they just couldn't figure it out for a little bit, so they just banned the card for a short time. They just said, this card in Standard is banned because we need a second to figure out how to balance it. And it was just like, okay. And the deck wasn't, it was still strong, but it wasn't like
as strong,
as crushing as it was before.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then a week later they brought the card back, it nerfed basically. It's just like, it was a 2-mana 1/1 that says if you're holding a dragon, gain an empty mana crystal, so you ramp basically. Now it's a 3-mana 3/2 with the same effect. But the fact is, from pushing it from 2 to 3 mana is a big deal in Druid, and because it creates tempo and swings you from 2 to 4, that was a huge deal. It's a small little thing, but they weren't sure they could make it without proper play testing. So they took that week and they play tested it, and then they decided, okay, this is still good, just not nearly as strong. And I think that's fair. It's just crazy how pessimistic players can get about certain things or whatever. It's like, it's funny that we were just talking very pessimistically about like Concord and stuff like that, but it's like,
I mean, that's just how for a lot of these games, that's just how the community is. It sucks, but that's
the thing.
The reality
the thing, and just to quickly go back on that Concord comment I just made, it's just like, it's not to the point where we think the game is necessarily bad. It's just, I don't know how they're going to make money and continually make money to be able to continually work on the game.
Well, that and my
without operating at a loss.
That and my big concern is how they're going to get players in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm harping on about this a lot, but that $40 price tag, that's going to turn off a lot of people. They're not going to get what?
It will.
It's not going to get that huge rush of people that a launch of a game needs. And 6 months down the line, even if they do make it free to play, sure, it'll get a boost of some sort. That's not going to last or keep the game alive at all, I don't think. Unless they have some major changes or updates planned for that.
You can't realistically tell me it's every time they put out a new character or whatever, it's they're going to have more people buy the game. It's just not feasible.
Oh no, that adding more characters isn't going to encourage more players at all. It would if it was free, but since it's not, it's here's this cool game, and a game that I don't want to buy. Go figure. I already think Concord does have some cool ass character designs. I'm not gonna buy a fucking game for that, though.
Oh no, I won't either.
Fuck that. I think they just totally misjudged their market, and the game's going to... What I hear is a pretty good game is going to suffer because of it.
Yeah. Do you see how it goes?
Kind of going back to what we were just talking about, though. That's just how a lot of these communities are. They love the game, but they will talk shit about it constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the big issue I've always had with the DVD community. Literally every single time a new thing drops, they will complain about it endlessly. All the time. Lara Croft just got dropped in Dead by Daylight. Everyone's been complaining about her perks. This is going to break this. This is going to break that. This perk is so overpowered. I can't believe I have to buy this. And then then the character launches and nobody fucking uses it. They will complain on and on and on about this one perk, and not a single person will ever take advantage of it. Then they'll be like, oh, well, this one's garbage. Why would anybody use that? Okay, and then they use that one. It's what do you even do? I just don't get it. Every time they make
it's baffling.
Every time they make a character change or whatever too, that's just loads of people will just do nothing but talk shit to the devs about it.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, even just furthering with Hearthstone or whatever, it's Druid got some very powerful cards in this latest expansion or whatever, and everyone's calling it the classic meme of Druid Stone, where Druid's just going to take over everything or whatever, and it's just already complaining about it, and it's here going just and I looked at the most recent generally what's the win win rate for this class or whatever with the new expansion or whatever. Druid's not even on top. And yet everyone's complaining about it, and I go, I mean, yeah, it's got some powerful cards and stuff like that, but it's far from Druid Stone or whatever. And this is where I go back to I go back to the moment where I stopped playing Hearthstone originally, was just shortly after the Grand Tournament when it was Paladin Stone, where everything was Mysterious Challenger. I'd hear the fucking line from Mysterious Challenger in my nightmares. It's like when you hear him when he's played, he goes, it's like, who am I? None of your business. And I was just like, oh my god, I want to. It was so infuriating to play against. Everyone was playing it. It was so much better than anything else in the meta, and because of everything was so much worse. Everyone played that, and the devs at the time worked so slow, so meticulously slow. It's just like I can't play this game. One day I just said I can't play this game anymore. I quit it, and I didn't pick it up until years later.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most frustrating I've ever got at a game, where I was just like, I just hear that card and I'm like, fuck off. It's like awakening PTSD or whatever. It's like, oh god, no, he's back, no, please. It's like, I love card games, man, but it's just like, there are some times where it's just like, some are so dominant, but it's like, until I see them, they're super dominant. I go, yeah, I'm not really too worried about it. It's also like, shit, I talk about poor meta games or whatever. It's like, I think about when fucking Patches the Pirate was put in there or whatever. It was the same thing. It was
Pirate.
His name was Patches the Pirate or whatever. He was a piece of shit. It was like, everyone played Pirates specifically for Patches, because Patches was so basically it was just like, you play a 1-mana pirate. It was usually it was like a 1-mana 1/2. If you have a weapon, it has +2 attack or whatever. Mm-hmm. Patches is a legendary that reads, it's a legendary 1/1 for 1 that says, whenever you play a pirate from your hand, summon this minion from your deck, and it has charge, so it can attack instantly. And you're thinking to yourself, a 1/1 can't make that much of a difference, right? Oh, it fucking did. I'll tell you what. Everybody played Patches. It was absurd. It was so absurd that there was never a moment during that metagame, I don't even remember what expansion it was, but it's like, that didn't play Pirates. Like, you looked at every top tier deck, every deck that was dominating, high win rates and everything like that, high legends and stuff like that. If you wanted to be good, if you wanted to have a really good deck or whatever, or even just stay afloat, because it wasn't just if you wanted to play this, you needed to play this to get to do well or whatever. If you weren't playing it, you would get stomped by it. That was the thing. So it was just you needed to play it. And it's eventually they just took charge off of it, and it's still good, just not nearly as good as the 1 damage or whatever.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I was gonna say, it sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes and no. It's slightly worse, if you ask me. It's like, I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but Yu-Gi-Oh's main problem is that everything's done by turn 1.
Yeah.
You don't have hand traps? Well, the game's GG. Yep.
You're fucked.
You're fucked.
Sorry.
Exactly. I love card games, but it's when it's so unbalanced, or so one card is just so dominant over the others, it's
it just becomes so much less fun.
It's just not nearly as fun when one deck runs over an entirety of the meta. It's so thank y'all so much for watching and or listening to the ramblings of this. And be sure to follow the podcast, to follow my co-host over there, follow my YouTube channel or whatever, because I'm still trying to put out videos or whatever. So far, I haven't really missed a week, although this week I potentially may or may not. I don't know. Either that or try and stream. It's like I was kind of waiting for like a moment. Whenever I thought about streaming, I always went, oh, what do I want to stream? I was like, I don't really. I was like, I could do SMT5. I don't really want to do that. That's more of a game I like playing offline and just kind of fucking around, doing whatever type thing or whatever. And it's like, oh, the new Hearthstone expansion comes out. I used to love streaming Hearthstone. It was like my favorite game to stream. So maybe I'll do that. And try some theory crafted decks.
Okay,
that'd be fun. Tried there's a new Death Rattle Demon Death Knight deck and Death Knight's one of my favorite classes in the game.
Why don't you tell me you were uploading more on YouTube? I haven't watched any of your videos yet.
I thought I did.
Bitch. Okay, well, we know now. Follow my buddy on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, everybody. I need to either fart or shit, and I don't want to...
Dude, same. So, yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Bye!